Good afternoon, all. Now we are going to see about inguinal hernia, and I am Dr. Narendra Prasad from Department of General Surgery, SLIMS. And definition about hernia: hernia is defined as an abnormal protrusion of a hollow viscus or a part of viscus through an opening or artificial or natural with a sac covering it. Inguinal hernia is the most commonest hernia, which accounts for 73%. Because the muscular anatomy in the inguinal region is weak, and also due to the presence of natural weakness like deep ring and cord structures. Indirect is more common than direct. Groin hernia is 25 times more common in men than women. Indirect inguinal hernia is the commonest hernia in men and women. Femoral hernia is more common in females, and this accounts for 10:1 ratio. Umbilical and incisional hernias are also common in females, which accounts for 2:1. And this is the surgical anatomy: superficial inguinal ring and deep inguinal ring. Superficial inguinal ring is nothing but it is a triangular opening in the external oblique aponeurosis and is 1.25 centimeter above the pubic tubercle. The ring is bounded by supromedial and infrolaterally by crus. Normally, the ring does not or just admit the tip of the little finger. And coming on to the anatomy of deep inguinal ring, it is a U-shaped condensation of the transversalis fascia, which lies 1.25 centimeter above the inguinal ligament, midway between the pubic symphysis and anterior superior iliac spine. Inguinal or Papard's ligament. It is formed by the lower border of the external oblique aponeurosis, which is thickened and folded backwards on itself, extending from anterior superior iliac spine to pubic tubercle. Inguinal canal. It is an oblique passage in lower part of abdominal wall, 4 centimeter long, situated about the medial half of inguinal ligament, extending from deep inguinal ring to superficial inguinal ring. In infants, both the superficial and deep rings are superimposed without any obliquity of the inguinal canal. Inguinal canal in female is called as canal of Nuck. Content of inguinal canal: spermatic cord in males, round ligament in females, and ilioinguinal nerve. Contents of spermatic cord: vas deferens, artery to vas, testicular and cremastic artery, genital branch of genital femoral nerve, pampiniform plexus of veins, remains of processus vaginalis, sympathetic plexus around the artery to vas. Coverings of spermatic cord: internal spermatic fascia from fascia transversalis, cremastic fascia, external spermatic fascia from external oblique aponeurosis is seen below the external ring in the scrotum. Boundaries: boundaries is nothing but in front, behind, above, and below. In front, it is bounded by external oblique aponeurosis and conjoined muscle laterally. Behind, it is surrounded by inferior epigastric artery, fascia transversalis, and conjoined tendon medially. And above, it is surrounded by conjoined muscle. Arched fibers of internal oblique. Below, by inguinal ligament. Defense mechanism of inguinal canal: obliquity of inguinal canal, arching of conjoined tendon, shutter mechanism of internal oblique, ball valve mechanism due to the contraction of cremaster muscle which plugs to superficial ring. When external oblique muscle contracts, intercrural fibers of superficial ring oppose, causing slit valve mechanism. And other hormones also play a major role in defense mechanism of the inguinal canal. And Foucault's myopectineal orifice. It is an osteomyoaponeurotic tunnel. It is through this tunnel all inguinal hernias like groin hernias occur. It is bounded medially by lateral border of rectus sheath, above by the arched fibers of internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle, laterally by the iliopsoas muscle, below by the pectin pubis and fascia covering it. Classification: there are two classifications. Classification 1, anatomical classification. Indirect hernia: it comes out through the internal ring along with the cord. It is lateral to the inferior epigastric artery. Direct hernia: it occurs to the posterior wall of the inguinal canal through Hasselbalch's triangle. Hasselbalch's triangle is nothing but which is bounded medially by lateral border of rectus muscle, laterally by inferior epigastric artery, below by inguinal ligament. Sac is medial to the inferior epigastric artery. Classification 2, according to its nature, that is incomplete, which is bubonosyl. Here sac is confined to the inguinal canal. And funicular: here sac crosses the superficial inguinal ring but does not reach the bottom of the scrotum. Complete, that is complete hernia occurs when sac descends to the bottom of the scrotum. Saddleback or pantaloon hernial sac has got both medial and lateral component. And other newer and there are some newer classifications in grading hernia, which is Gilbert classification. Gilbert's classification as type 1 and type 2, type 3, type 4, type 5, and up to type 8. Type 1 shows hernia has got snug internal ring through which a peritoneal sac passes out as indirect sac. In type 2, hernia has a moderately enlarged internal ring which admits only one finger but lesser than 2 fingers breadth. Once reduced, it protrudes during coughing or straining. Type 3 hernia has got large internal ring with a defect more than 2 fingers breadth. Hernia descends into the scrotum or with a sliding hernia. Once reduced, it immediately protrudes out without any straining. Type 4, it is direct hernia with a large full blowout of the posterior wall of the inguinal canal. The internal ring is intact. Type 5, it is direct hernia protruding out through punched out hole. Defect in the transversalis fascia, the internal ring is intact. Type 6, pantaloon or double hernia. Type 7, femoral hernia. Type 6 and type 7 are Robbins modifications. And other important classification is Niger's classification. Niger's classification has 4 types. Type 1, indirect hernia with normal deep ring. Type 2, indirect hernia with dilated deep ring. Type 3, posterior wall defect with direct pantaloon hernia or femoral hernia. And type 4, recurrent hernia. And Ben-David classification, type staging diameter classification, that is TSD classification, which consists of 5 types. Type 1 shows anterolateral defect, indirect. Type 2, anteromedial defect, direct. Posteromedial defect, femoral. Posterior prevascular hernia. And type 5, anteroposterior defect, inguinal femoral hernia. And the 6th classification is Poncas classification, which for which indirect inguinal hernia is classified as uncomplicated indirect hernia, sliding indirect hernia, direct hernia, small defect on the medial aspect of Hasselbalch's triangle, diverticular hernia in the posterior wall with an otherwise intact inguinal floor, a large diffuse direct inguinal hernia of the entire floor of Hasselbalch's triangle. Indirect inguinal hernia or oblique hernia. This is the most common type of hernia. It is more common in younger age group as compared to direct inguinal hernia, which is more common in elderly. It is more common on right side in first decade, but in second decade, the incidence is equal on both sides. Hernia is almost bilateral in 30% of cases. Sac is thin in indirect type, neck is narrow and lies lateral to inferior epigastric vessels. And covering of indirect hernia, extraperitoneal tissue, internal spermatic fascia, cremasteric fascia, external spermatic fascia, and skin. Precipitating causes for inguinal hernia: smoking, obesity, respiratory causes like bronchial asthma, tuberculosis, bronchitis, ascites, previous surgery like appendicectomy, which can cause direct inguinal hernia. Chronic constipation due to anorectal strictures. Rectal stricture may be due to chronic chronic proctitis, amoebic or tuberculosis of anorectum, previous anorectal surgery, rectal carcinoma, or stricture due to lymphogranuloma venereum. Urinary problems like benign prostatic hyperplasia, urethral stricture, straining, and multiple pregnancies may also contribute to this. Types: there are different types of hernia, which is 3 types of hernia, which is first one is bubonocele, where the hernia is related to the inguinal canal, and funicular variant, in which the processus vaginalis is closed just above the epididymis. Contents of the sac can be felt separately from testis, which lies below the hernia. And surgical anatomy of inguinal hernia, it is nothing but the surgical anatomy of indirect hernia. Anterior superior, this is the anterior superior iliac spine, and this is inferior epigastric artery, and this is the deep inguinal ring, and this is the superficial inguinal ring, and this is the inguinal ligament. Here left side indirect inguinal hernia. The main differentiating feature in indirect inguinal hernia is we cannot get above the swelling on palpation, which is the differentiating feature between hydrocele and hernia. In hydrocele, one can get above the swelling. In hernia, one cannot get above the swelling. And different expansile impulse on coughing. First is hernia, second is laryngocele, meningocele, empyema necessitans, swellings with intracavitary communications like thorax, cranium, and abdomen like dermoid. And this is the differential diagnosis for groin swelling: inguinal hernia, femoral hernia, inguinal lymphadenitis, infantile hydrocele, sapina varix, lipoma of cord, groin abscess, funiculatus, and undescended testis. And clinical features: prevalence of inguinal hernia is 25% in males and 2% in females. It is more common in males. Male is to female ratio is 20:1. Patient presents with dragging pain and swelling in the groin, which is better seen while coughing and standing, and felt together with an expansive impulse. Momentary increase or occurrence of the swelling during the act of coughing. In complete type, the content descends down to the scrotum completely. On palpation, one cannot get above the swelling. Contents are either small bowel, large bowel, momentum, or combination of all these. In females, sometimes ovary and tubes may be the content. In infants, swelling appears when the child cries and is often translucent. It is usually reducible, but can go for irreducibility, inflammation, obstruction, and strangulation. Strangulation and obstruction is the most dangerous symptom in hernia. Internal ring occlusion test. I'm coming on to the test part. Internal ring occlusion test. Internal ring is located ½ inch above the mid-inguinal point, center point between anterior superior iliac spine and pubic symphytus. After reducing the contents in lying down position, internal ring is occluded using the thumb. Patient is asked to cough. If a swelling appears medial to the thumb, then it is a direct hernia. If swelling does not appear on releasing the thumb, if the swelling does not appear and on releasing the thumb, swelling appears during coughing, then it is an indirect hernia, which is confirmed in standing position. And coming on to the next test is ring invagination test. After reduction of hernia, the little finger or index finger of the examiner is invaginated from the bottom of the scrotum, gradually pushed up and rotated to enter the superficial inguinal ring. The impulse on coughing is felt at the tip of the invaginated finger. This test is done only in males. And G-Man's test is nothing but the examiner places his index finger on the deep inguinal ring and middle finger on the superficial inguinal ring. Ring finger over saphenous opening. The patient is asked to cough or to hold the nose and blow. If the impulse is felt on the index finger, it is direct hernia. Head or leg raising test is done to look for abdominal wall muscle tone and Malgaian bulgings. Valsalva maneuver is also used to check the tone of abdominal wall muscles. Abdominal, respiratory, urological examination is done to look out for any precipitating factors like chronic bronchitis, ascites, stricture urethra, or BPH. And coming on to next examination is perrectal examination. No examination is complete without perrectal examination. And inguinal hernia in females. Increased thickness of labium majus and palpation when compared to the contralateral side. Silk glove sign. Index finger is invaginated across scrotum towards the external ring. When patient coughs, inguinal hernia is felt as a slit-like sensation. Use 5 fingers of the hand to complete all tests of hernia. Thumb for deep ring occlusion test, index, middle finger, and ring finger for Siemens test, little finger for superficial ring invagination test. And coming on to the rules of hernia examination, never forget to examine opposite side, never forget to do perrectal examination, never forget to examine the urethra, never forget to check abdominal muscle tone of the cord. And differential diagnosis, the main differential diagnosis is hydrocele, which may be infantile or ancestral hydrocele or large vaginal hydrocele or bilateral hydrocele. And next is undescended testis, femoral hernia, lipoma of the cord, hydrocele of the canal of tongue in females, and inguinal lymph node enlargement or groin abscess. This picture shows the bubonocele, and this is irreducible left-sided inguinal hernia. It is above the upper part of the testis, which is the funicular variant. Taxis is the method used to reduce it. Bilateral complete inguinal hernia. This picture shows the bilateral complete inguinal hernia. Here, hernia descends up to the bottom of the scrotum. Indirect inguinal hernia and direct inguinal hernia can occur in any age from child to adult. Common in elderly. Occurs in pre-existing sac. Always acquired. Protrusion through the deep ring. Herniation occurs later. Herniation through posterior wall of the inguinal canal. Pyriform or oval in shape. Descends obliquely and downwards. Globular or round in shape. Descends directly as a forward bulge. Can become complete by descending down into the scrotum. Descending down into the scrotum is very rare. in case of direct inguinal hernia. And sac is anterolateral to the cord, sac is posterolateral to the cord. Ring occlusion test does not show any impulse after occluding the deep ring. Test shows impulse even after occluding the deep ring. Imagination test shows impulse on the tip of the little finger. Impulse is felt over the pulp of the little finger. Siemens test shows impulse on the index finger. Test shows impulse on the middle finger. Commonly unilateral but can be bilateral. Commonly bilateral. Obstruction or strangulation are more common features in indirect inguinal hernia, rare in direct hernia but can occur. Sac should be opened during surgery. Sac is not necessarily open unless obstruction is present. Investigations, and coming on to the investigations, the main investigation is chest X-ray to rule out chronic bronchitis, ultrasound abdomen to find out the BPH or ascites, test relevant to other precipitating factors. And coming on to the treatment part for indirect inguinal hernia, treatment for inguinal hernia is always a surgical procedure. However, asymptomatic direct hernia patients can wait without opting for any surgical intervention. Precipitating causes should be treated or controlled. First, like treating asthma, tuberculosis, bronchitis, chronic cough, and should stop smoking, treating enlarged prostate by TURP. TURP is nothing but transurethral resection of prostate. TURP and hernioplasty can also be combined together. Liechtenstein open tension-free onlay herniomesplasty, proline mesh repair, hernioplasty is the standard treatment. Most commonly done. This is the most commonly done procedure through inguinal canal, and that is anterior approach. Hernial sac should be ligated and excised in the indirect sac. Herniotomy prior to mesh placement, hernioplasty. Strengthening of the posterior wall is important in all inguinal hernia repairs, whether direct or indirect. Either tissue repair or prosthetic repair is used. Bazinese tissue repair. Even though lasted for a century, Bazinese is father of hernia surgery. Bazinese tissue repair is not commonly used nowadays, except in strangulated hernia where mesh is contraindicated. Shoudai's tissue repair shows less recurrence, but it is technically demanding. New no mesh tension-free tissue repair invented by Professor Mohan Dasarada from Pune, from India, as Dasarada no mesh tissue repair is becoming popular with less recurrence and least post-operative chronic pain. In Western countries, hernia surgeries are done under local anesthesia. As a daycare procedure, in developing countries, spinal anesthesia is commonly used in infants and children and in adults for totally extraperitoneal preperitoneal mesh repair. And TAP, trans-abdominal preperitoneal mesh repair, general anesthesia is preferred and ideal. In infants and children, whether inguinal hernia or hydrocele, herniotomy is done through inguinal approach. Michaelis plank operation, neither tissue repair nor mesh repair is needed. Only herniotomy, ideally open can be done. Can be done through laparoscopy too. And procedure, after cleaning and draping the skin, incision is made parallel to the medial two-thirds of the inguinal ligament, and skin is open and superficial fascia, outer campus fascia and inner scarpus fascia are incised. Superficial pudendal and superficial epigastric vessels are ligated with catgut or cauterized. Self-retaining mastoid or similar retractor is placed to retract the skin edges. External oblique aponeurosis is incised along its long axis parallel to the line of skin incision. Incision is extended on either ends of the incision. Medially, it is extended to cut the margins of the superficial ring. Upper leaf is reflected above and held with hemostat. Using peanut dissection, upper leaf is raised adequately to visualize conjoined tendon and lateral rectus sheath. Iliohypogastric nerve is identified above and medially, which after piercing the internal oblique enters the external oblique. Lower leaf is reflected downwards to visualize and expose the inguinal ligament. Entire inguinal ligament is dissected medially and exposed with its shelving edge and iliopubic tract. And hernia repair, it means repair or strengthening of the posterior wall of the inguinal canal. Strengthening can be done by tissue or prosthetic repair. Strengthening by tissue repair has got various approaches, but transversalis fascia or tendinous fascia, aponeurotic upper part is approximated to iliopubic tract or Cooper's ligament or shelved edge of the inguinal ligament. Upper leaf taken for repair should be tendinous fascia aponeurotic layer, not fleshy red muscle. Non-observable monofilament sutures like polypropylene should be used ideally. Prosthetic repair is done by placing mesh or prosthesis by onlay or inlay or sublay intraperitoneal method. Polypropylene mesh is commonly used with the different modifications. Tissue prosthesis like tensor fascia lata or temporal fascia is not used now, but an innovative technique as advocated by Mo and Dasarada, live aponeurotic tissue is used as prosthesis in his Dasarada no mesh tissue repair is said to be very effective prosthesis repair. And coming on to Lichtenstein hernioplasty, after herniatomy, 15 to 8 centimeter or suitable size mesh is selected. Mesh is placed deep to the cord structures. Below it is sutured to the inguinal ligament using continuous non-observable polypropylene sutures. Medially, it should overlap 2 to 2.5 centimeter over the pubic tubercle. Suture should be ended laterally at the level of the internal ring. Mesh on its lateral part is slit onto two tails, 2/3 upper lip and 1/3 lower lip. Slit is done up to the internal ring and cord with ilioinguinal nerve is passed in between the tails. Upper leaf is overlapped onto the lower leaf in front, below, and suture to the inguinal ligament at the level of internal ring. Laterally, both the leaflets are spread up to anterior superior iliac spine for 6 centimeter. Above and medially, mesh is fixed to conjoint tendon using interrupted non-observable sutures. Care should be taken to avoid taking bites from iliohypogastric nerve. Cord is placed on the mesh and external oblique is sutured using same suture material or delayed observable suture. Subcutaneous and skin layer is closed. Recurrence rate has reduced significantly by prosthetic mesh repair, but incidence of mesh inguinodenia has increased due to entrapment of ilioinguinal or iliohypogastric nerves in the mesh. Even though it is a commonly done procedure at present for inguinal hernia in adolescents, whether it should be used or not is a debate. In children, it is not used. It is not done in strangulatory hernia or in presence of sepsis, where only tissue repair is done. Lytle's repair. Often internal ring is narrowed by placing interrupted sutures over the medial side of the ring to the transversalis fascia using either silk or polypropylene to narrow the ring and push the cord laterally. And this is the Lytle's repair. Lytle's repair is narrowing of the widened internal ring. And this is the internal ring. This is the external oblique muscle, and this is the Lytle's repair, where it is where the opening is widened opening is narrowed by continuous interrupted sutures. Complications: hemorrhage, hematoma, seroma, hematocele, infection, osteitis pubis, post-herniorrhaphy hydrocele, lymphocele, hyperesthesia over the medial side of the inguinal canal due to injury to iliohypogastric nerve, that is neuralgia, occurs for 15%, recurrence 10 to 15% in modified Bessonese repair, 1 to 5% only in other types, injury to urinary bladder, bowel, and paralytic ileus. Testicular atrophy due to thrombosis of pampiniform plexus of veins, penile edema is rare. Taxis. Patient is placed in supine position with hip and knee flexed and hip internally rotated. Contents are pushed with one hand, directing with the other hand. Use of truss. Rat-tailed sprung truss is used. Measurement is taken from the tip of the greater trochanter to the third piece of the sacrum circumferentially. Complications are discomfort, ulceration, strangulation, inflammation, testicular atrophy, ilioinguinal neuritis, and femoral neuritis. It may be used in elderly people who are not fit for anesthesia and surgery. Conservative treatment should be avoided in hernia as much as possible. Truss is absolutely contraindicated in femoral and sliding hernia. Truss increases the surgical bleeding, postoperative edema, and testicular pain. And coming on to direct hernia occurs for about 10 to 15% of all hernias. 50% of direct hernia occur bilaterally. 35% of inguinal hernia are direct. It is uncommon in females and children. It is always occurred due to the weakening of the posterior wall of inguinal canal. Hernia is medial to the inferior epigastric artery with wide neck. Sac is thick and often the medial wall or content may be bladder. Direct hernia occurs through Hasselbalch's triangle, which is bounded by inferior epigastric artery laterally, lateral border of rectus medially, inguinal ligament below. It is divided into medial and lateral halves by obliterated umbilical artery, medial umbilical ligament. So direct hernia is classified as medial or lateral, depending on which part of Hasselbalch's triangle it is arising from. And this is the surgical anatomy of Hasselbalch's triangle. Here we can see the anterior superior iliac spine and pubic symphysis, and this is the inguinal ligament, and this is the conjoint tendon, and this is the medially it is by rectus muscle and inferior epigastric artery. Malgame bulgings are often seen in these patients on examination, more often than in indirect hernia. They are protrusion of abdominal wall muscle during leg raising test as weak, soft, supple swellings, which signifies poor abdominal muscle tone. It is common in old age, obesity. It indicates that hernia requires mesh repair. Direct hernia rarely descends into the scrotum, and strangulation is not as common as in indirect hernia. But in long-standing cases, it can descend down to the scrotum, and strangulation can occur. Predisposing factors: chronic cough, smoking, straining, constipation, heavy work, and previous appendectomy. Treatment is the treatment. The only treatment is surgery. Usually, direct sac is not opened. Care should be taken at the medial aspect due to the presence of bladder. Bladder should be emptied before. Ideally, hernioplasty, mesh repair is done. In case of bilateral hernia, mesh repair can be done on both sides together. Laparoscopic approach, TEP, or suprapubic approach may be better in bilateral cases. Funicular direct hernia, prevesical hernia. It is also called as Ogilvie's hernia. It is a type of direct hernia which is prone for strangulation. It is a narrow necked hernia with a prevesical fat and a portion of bladder and or intestine that herniates through a small defect in the medial part of the conjoint tendon just above the pubic tubercle. It occurs in elderly males. Giant inguinal hernia. This picture shows a giant inguinal hernia in a patient where hernia reaches below the mid-level of thigh when patient stands. Giant indirect hernia and direct inguinal hernias. Recurrence of hernia. Incidence is 10%. If recurrence is within 3 years, it is called as yearly. If it is after 3 years, it is called as late. And predisposing factors for hernia is preoperative, smoking, chronic cough, constipation, old age, anemia, hypoproteinemia, straining, increased intra-abdominal pressure of any cause, BPH, carcinoma, prostate, stricture urethra, and ascites. Operative, tension in the sutures, weak anterior abdominal wall. Post-operatively, infection, hematoma formation during early surgery, retained sac in pantaloon hernia, and straining. Recurrence rate: Besney's repair 10%, Shoulder's repair 1%, hernioplasty 1 to 3%, other methods 1 to 5%. True or false recurrence are the types of recurrences. If hernia occurs in inguinal region after inguinal hernia repair, it is called as true hernia. True recurrence. If other groin hernia occurs after inguinal hernia repair, like femoral hernia or obturator or other rare types, it is called as false hernia. False recurrence. But presently, hernia is classified grossly as groin hernia, and so all recurrences are true recurrences. Clinical features: same as for inguinal hernia. Same as for inguinal hernia. Defect is usually narrow and so more likely to go in for strangulation. It can be medial recurrence or lateral recurrence, depending on the location of the sac. Medial recurrence is common as tension in suture line. Tension in the suture line is the greatest near the pubic tubercle. Treatment. Although after thorough investigation, the cause of recurrence has to be treated, and later hernioplasty is done. Laparoscopic TEP or TAP approach is better for recurrent hernia. In open repair, preperitoneal mesh repair is ideal. In elderly people, Kuhn's orchidectomy or cord excision at inguinal canal may be added after proper prior consent. Hernioplasty. It is strengthening of posterior inguinal wall in case of indirect hernia or in any large hernia with weak abdominal wall using a supportive material. This allows and supports good fibroblast proliferation, which in turn strengthens the weak posterior wall of inguinal canal or abdominal wall. Indications: direct hernia, recurrent hernia, recurrent hernia, incisional hernia, old age, hernia with weak abdominal muscle tone, sliding hernia. Complications are infections, mesh extrusion, foreign body reaction, mesh inguinodynia, causing hyperesthesia and pain along the distribution of ilioinguinal or iliohypox mesh erosion into bladder, bowel, or vessels can occur occasionally. Principle: size of the mesh should be bigger than the size of the defect. Mesh should be fixed above and below to the conjoint tendon and inguinal ligament or abdominal wall using interrupted non-absorbable sutures. Absolute hemostasis and control of infection is important. Types of mesh repair: onlay repair, Lichtenstein mesh repair, a type of onlay. Inlay repair, mesh placed at the myopectoral level, bringing repair. Underlay repair, mesh placed at deeper plane, usually in preperitoneal space. Gilbert patch and plug repair or Gilbert's PHS repair, onlay plus sublay. Nigus preperitoneal mesh repair, Kugel groin hernia mesh repair, modified Rivas preperitoneal mesh repair through inguinal approach. Stoppa GPRVS repair, TEP mesh repair and TAP mesh repair. Onlay mesh repair by placing mesh in front with a suture above to conjoint tendon and below to inguinal ligament using monofilament non-absorbable suture material. Lichtenstein tension-free onlay mesh repair in 1993, where the cord is encircled with mesh, which is often done under local anesthesia. Suturing of mesh is done similar to onlay mesh repair. It has got less recurrence rate. Nigus repair, it is done through suprainguinal horizontal incision above the pubic symphysis and internal ring. Preperitoneum is approached through lateral border of the lower part of rectus muscle by making an opening in the posterior rectus sheath. Mesh is placed in the preperitoneal space deep to the cord, conjoint tendon, and transversalis fascia. Below it is folded to deep. The iliopectineal ligament of Cooper and suture to it using 2 or 3 interrupted non-absorbable sutures. It is sutured to transverse abdominis above and transversalis fascia from deep. Modified Rives preperitoneal mesh repair. Reed Rives is preperitoneal mesh repair through transinguinal approach. Direct sac is inverted with sutures. For indirect sac, a high ligation is done. Here mesh is placed in preperitoneal space, folded and sutured below to iliopectineal ligament. Above to the transverse abdominis in deeper plane, often transversalis fascia opened earlier, is sutured back using non-absorbable suture material in front of the placed mesh. And coming on to the Stoppa's repair, it is done in large hernias, hernia in elderly, bilateral hernias, recurrent and recurrent hernias, hernia with very lax abdomen, and hernia with collagen diseases like Marfan syndrome. Horizontal length of the mesh is 2 cm, less than the distance between anterior superior iliac spines, and vertical length in distance between the umbilicus and the pubic symphysis. Large mesh is placed between peritoneum and lateral inferior anterior abdominal wall, which stretches in the lower abdomen and pelvis. It is done through lower midline on phalangeal incision. Usually, such large mesh is placed without any anchorage. Gilbert mesh repair. After herniatomy, internal ring is plugged by cone-shaped umbrella plug, piece of Prolene mesh. Later, onlay, inlay, mesh repair of posterior wall of the inguinal canal is done. Gilbert's PHS. It is an open transinguinal approach to place a specially devised mesh in both preperitoneal as inlay and in front as onlay mesh repair. This mesh has got a rounded, deeper part which is placed in preperitoneal space and a modified quadrangular part which is placed as onlay. Both parts are connected through a connecting stiff, rounded part in between which steadies the mesh in place, preventing its displacement. Small V-shaped triangular cuts on the anterior layer adjacent to this multiple holes act as sutureless anchors. Incision is above the deep ring and later to inferior epigastric vessels. Skin, subcutaneous tissue, external oblique aponeurosis is cut. Internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscles are split to reach deeper space. Transversalis fascia split vertically to avoid injury to inferior epigastric vessels, which are retracted medially. Preperitoneal space is created. Indirect sac is dissected off the deep ring from above. Proximal part being ligated using absorbable 3-0 Vicodin. Direct sac is dissected off the defect without opening. Each pseudosac, which is modified transversalis fascia, is dissected off entirely from the peritoneum behind. Kugel's mesh patch is placed properly without allowing any tissue bands holding it. Transversalis fascia is sutured with one absorbable suture. Transverse abdominis and internal oblique muscles are not sutured. External oblique aponeurosis is sutures. Kugel's meshplasty is placed properly without allowing any tissue bands holding it. Transversalis fascia is sutured with one absorbable suture material. Transversus abdominis and internal oblique muscles are not sutured. External oblique aponeurosis is sutured. Transabdominal preperitoneal laparoscopic mesh repair. It is mainly used in irreducible and large hernias. This is the Gilbert's PHS mesh. Part placed in front as onlay, part placed in peritoneal space as sublay. This is the connector. And mesh placement in tap procedure. Kugel's repair. It is done through posterior preperitoneal approach with tension-free, less invasive, sutureless repair. Kugel patch contains two overlapping layers of knitted polypropylene mesh which are attached to each other ultrasonically. Near the outer edge of the mesh, it has got a polyester spring which stiffens the mesh to unfold. 1 centimeter of mesh extends outer to the spring, which also has radial slits to have easy maneuverability. Anterior layer of the mesh has got single transverse slit to facilitate the insertion. Multiple 3 millimeter holes through both layers of the mesh are present that allow tissue contact in better way to prevent mesh displacement. Tap. Using laparoscope, this is used in large indirect hernia or irreducible inguinal hernia. 10 mm umbilical port is used for laparoscope. 5 mm ports are placed one on each side on pararectal point at or above the level of umbilicus so as to achieve adequate triangulations. Contents of the hernia are reduced. Hernial sac is dissected in preperitoneal plane after making horizontal incision at the upper part of the sac opening. Vas, gonadal vessels, pubic bone, inferior epigastric vessels are identified. One sac is dissected and excised. A Prolene or Vipro or Ultra Pro mesh of 15 x 10 cm sized or smaller is placed in preperitoneal space. It is fixed to pubic bone using tacks. Peritoneum is closed with continuous Prolene sutures. Totally extraperitoneal repair using laparoscope. This technique is gaining more popularity than tap. Through suboblique incision, 10 mm extraperitoneal space is reached. After CO2 insufflation, another 5 mm port is inserted 4 cm below the first port in the midline. Third 5 mm port is inserted on the same line 4 cm below or in the right iliac fossa. Dissection is carried out downwards carefully, then medially up to the pubic tubercle, iliopectineal ligament laterally to the iliac vessels and the inferior epigastric vessels. Once adequate space is dissected, 15 x 15 cm mesh is placed and spread. Care should be taken not to have any folding in the mesh. Mesh may be sutured to iliopectineal ligament. Displacement of mesh is not common. Other side also can be done together. And this shows the normal anatomy of the abdominal wall, skin, abdominal muscles, preperitoneal space, transversalis fascia, peritoneum, and intestines. This is the preperitoneal approach for TEP, skin, abdominal muscle, preperitoneal fascia, peritoneum, and intestines, in which we enter through this space. And this is the TAP, transabdominal preperitoneal approach, in which we go through these sites. Difficulties and complication in TEP repair. Difficulty in dissecting indirect sac, cord or was injury, inadvertent opening of the sac or peritoneum and creation of pneumoperitoneum, injuries to major structures like iliac vessels 0.5 to 1%, displacement of mesh or erosion into structures like urinary bladder, rarely may occur, nerve injury, formation of seroma or hematoma, infection and recurrence. Advantages of TEP repair. Approach is totally extraperitoneal, very small incision is made, proper placement of mesh in right space, that is preperitoneal space, peritoneal cavity is intact and not open. Indications for TEP, contraindications for TEP. Indications for TEP is nothing but recurrent hernia, bilateral hernia, indirect or direct or femoral hernia. Contraindications are obstructed or strangulated inguinal hernias, ascites or bleeding disorders. Landmarks to be identified in TEP: pubic bone midline, inferior epigastric artery, Cooper's ligament, iliopubic tract, cord and vas difference, psoas muscle and nerves in relation. And thank you.